Welcome back. Now we've created a new static mesh and we've given it a nice glowy material, but we want to spawn these in at runtime while the game is running. We want our drone to be shooting them out from those socket locations at the rifles. So I don't need this mesh. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And we're going to learn how we can spawn actors at runtime. At runtime just means while a program is running. Now, I don't want to just spawn a static mesh actor. I want to create a new custom actor for our blaster beam because our blaster beams are going to have their own functionality. They're going to fly through the air. They're going to collide with things. So we kind of need a new actor blueprint. So we're going to go into our blueprints folder and create a new folder here called blaster beam. And we'll make a new actor in here. Let's go into this folder, right click, create blueprint class, choose actor, and this is going to be BP blaster beam. And blaster beam is going to be simple for now. We just need a static mesh. So we're going to click add, search for static mesh. We're going to call this beam mesh. And we're going to take our static mesh in the details panel and set that to SM blaster beam. There it is. And we can even make this the root by dragging it onto default scene root. And we see that it's oriented correctly. It goes down the x-axis, which is the forward vector, and that's perfect. We now have an actor with a static mesh component as its root, which is not a whole lot different than simple static mesh actors in the world. If we go back to our blaster beam folder, find SM blaster beam and drag one in, we'll see that this static mesh actor, if we look in its details panel, has a static mesh component called static mesh component, and its static mesh is set to SM blaster beam. And as we can see, it's the one and only component. It is the root. So what we've just created with BP Blaster Beam is basically the same thing, but our BP Blaster Beam can be customized. We have an event graph, and we can add our own logic to it. For now, though, it's enough to just have a blaster beam. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this static mesh. And our goal now here is to spawn in one of these blaster beams from our bot. So let's close M blaster beam. I'm done with that material. I'm done with the static mesh editor. And I'm going to go back to BP bot. And instead of using a delay here on begin play, I'm going to break those wires and just get all actors of class immediately so we can set that target pawn right away. And I'm going to set that delay way down here at the end. And after these 2 seconds, I'd like to spawn in a blaster beam. So the act of spawning actors is a way of creating a new actor in our world. And we can do that by right-clicking and searching for spawn actor and choosing spawn actor from class. So much like we did over here with get all actors of class, spawn actor from class requires a class. Notice that a class has the color coding of purple. We need to specify the class of actor we want to spawn, and it's going to be our new actor class, BP Blaster Beam. We can search for that. I actually see it right here. I'm going to select it. So I'm going to hook this up. But if we click compile, notice we get an error because spawn transform cannot be just left unset. We have to set it. We have to pass in some information. And I'd like to spawn this beam at the location of one of our sockets. And we've seen that we can get the socket location by name with get socket location. We can actually get the whole transform. I'm going to right click and type get socket transform. And notice that we have bot mesh in parentheses because get socket transform is a function on a static mesh. So we have to call it from our static mesh called bot mesh. So I'm going to call get socket transform. Notice that we automatically get a get node for our bot mesh, and get socket transform requires the name of the socket. I'm going to use rifle underscore L. And notice we have a transform space option. We can choose world, actor, component, or parent bone space. These are all frames of reference. We've seen how an actor can have its own local space. Well, we want world space. So I'm going to leave it at RTS world and hook that in as the spawn transform. And now we can go ahead and compile, and let's see what spawn actor from class does. Notice that it now says spawn actor BP Blaster Beam because the node changes its name based on the class we've selected. So what we expect is after 2 seconds from begin play, we should see a new blaster beam spawned at the location of our Rifle L socket. Let's go ahead and press play. And there it is. 2 seconds later, we saw that blaster beam. Now it's not moving, it just hovers there in the world because we haven't programmed a way for it to move around. But notice when I stop the Pi session, it's gone. That's because we spawned it in dynamically at runtime. It wasn't placed in the world, it wasn't already here. It was spawned in. And we spawned it in 2 seconds after our BP bots begin play was called. And this leads us to an important detail about begin play. We know that begin play starts at the beginning of a game, but our newly spawned in blaster beam doesn't exist at the beginning of the game. It only exists after it's been spawned in 2 seconds later. So when does the blaster beam begin play get called? Well, it gets called as soon as it spawns in. We can prove that with the print string node in our BP blaster beam begin play. Let's print a string that says blaster beam hello. And let's go in and press play and wait for 2 seconds. And there's our blaster beam hello. It popped in 2 seconds after the game started because our blaster beam's begin play doesn't get executed until blaster beam actually exists. It has to be constructed first. So that's something to be aware of. Blaster beam's begin play is executed once blaster beam is spawned in because it doesn't exist yet at the beginning of the game. So we now know how to spawn an actor. Notice that spawn actor BP blaster beam has a return value, and this is a BP blaster beam object reference. We can use that value later on. For instance, if we want to add a delay node and delay for 1 second, after which we would like to destroy our blaster beam, we can do that because all actors have a function called destroy actor. If we call destroy actor after a 1 second delay, well, let's see what happens. There's our blaster beam, and 1 second later, it's gone because we destroyed it, and we were able to do that because the spawn actor node returns a reference to that actor that was spawned. And we can use that value to access that actor later. So now that we know how to spawn actors, we'd like our blaster beams to fly through the air like an actual blaster beam would do. And we're going to do that in the next video. Great job. I'll see you soon.